Let me start with the quietest shock in American literature. Boo Radley, the man we treat like a gentle miracle, might actually be the saddest character Harper Lee ever created. That sentence alone flips the entire novel on its head, because we're taught to see Boo as a soft presence in the dark, a hidden guardian, a mysterious savior who steps out only when the children need him most. But if we stop romanticizing him for 5 seconds, a heartbreaking truth rises to the surface. Boo might not be the hero of this story. He might be its deepest wound. So today, let's walk slowly into the shadows of the Radley house and ask a question that readers rarely say out loud. Is Boo Radley an angel, or is he the novel's most tragic victim? Think about the first version of Boo we meet. He's a ghost story, a whispered rumor, a boy frozen in time because the adults in his life locked him away, not metaphorically, literally, confined to a house where the windows rarely open and the light barely gets in. Children invent monsters when adults refuse to tell them the truth, and Maycomb gives the children nothing but silence. So they fill that silence with fear, with exaggeration, with the myth of a creature scratching on walls and eating raw animals. It's easy to forget this part once the story moves on. Easy to replace the haunting with the hero. But the truth remains. Boo begins the novel not as a threat, but as a victim of the town's cruelty. And that cruelty never disappears. As Scout grows, her understanding grows with her. She starts noticing things she was too young to name. The loneliness of that shuttered house. The way the neighborhood speaks about Boo as if he isn't alive, as if he isn't listening. The way adults casually erase him because it's easier than acknowledging what was done to him. And then there are the gifts. Those small objects left in the oak knothole. Soap carvings, twine, pennies. Little symbols of a boy who wants connection but fears the world that taught him to hide. Those gifts are the most human acts in the entire novel. They are Boo saying, "I see you," even when no one has seen him for years. They are the earliest cracks of light leaking from a life trapped in the dark. And what does Maycomb do with those small, fragile attempts at communication? It cements the hole shut, literally seals away his only channel to the outside world. That moment is easy to skim past when you're young, but as an adult, it's devastating. It is the town's final act of erasure, a quiet violence disguised as caretaking, a community saying, "Stay hidden. We prefer the myth." And somehow, Boo still becomes the one who saves the children. His act of bravery is unforgettable. He steps between innocence and violence, between life and death, between Scout's fragile body and Bob Ewell's rage. But here's the part readers rarely ask. What does it cost Boo to do this? To break a lifetime of isolation? To step into a world that never welcomed him? To risk exposure after years of managing his fear? The answer is simple and painful. It costs him everything he has left. Because the moment he carries Jem home, Boo becomes visible, seen, exposed. And even that moment is handled with heartbreaking sensitivity. Scout doesn't hug him. She doesn't overwhelm him. She takes his hand gently. She becomes the first person in the entire novel to treat him not as a ghost, not as a curiosity, but as a person. When Scout stands on Boo's porch afterward, looking out at the world from his point of view, she finally understands what the reader should have seen long before. Boo wasn't the monster. He wasn't the legendary recluse. He wasn't even the hero. He was the product of a community that punishes difference, that buries the inconvenient, that chooses gossip over compassion, that would rather invent a story than confront the truth. And that is why Boo Radley might be the novel's greatest tragedy. A man who deserved a life, not just a moment of heroism. When we call him an angel, we soften the truth he represents. When we call him a savior, we ignore the years of suffering that made his final act necessary. When we celebrate his kindness, we forget that this kindness came from someone who had almost nothing left but kindness. And the hardest part is this: Boo Radley is still real, not as a person, but as a pattern. We still live in towns, schools, workplaces, and families where the quiet are misunderstood, where the different are ridiculed, where the gentle are isolated, where the vulnerable are turned into stories instead of supported as people. So yes, Boo protects Scout and Jem. Yes, his final gesture is heroic, but heroism doesn't erase the harm that came before. And maybe the most radical way to read Boo today is to admit this simple truth. He should never have needed to be a hero at all. If you want to explore this deeper, Boo's symbolism, his ties to Southern Gothic tradition, the psychology of isolation, the disability studies perspective, and how modern readers reinterpret his role, the full video essay is waiting for you, along with a complete PDF companion packed with analysis, quotes, and extended insights. I hope you'll join me there.